book lovers, it is G-Swiss here, and I'm here today with my March TBR. So as I've mentioned previously, January and February were really good reading months, and I do want to keep that momentum up this month. And what better way to do that than have a month full of anticipated releases, as well as some books that you want to read either in the lead up to them or just because you're in the mood, mostly because of them. So I've got a stack of books here that I do want to talk about, but also I want to address a few anticipated releases I have for the month of March. I honestly cannot wait to read those. I feel like this is the last month that I can get a lot of reading done, because starting from the month of April I will start commuting to the office again. Because restrictions have eased in my city, that also means that there might be less content. I mean, I've been enjoying posting 3 videos a week, but that is a pretty unrealistic expectation considering how much commute time goes into my regular work week. I have been privileged in the last few weeks to just be able to work from home and not have to worry about the commute. It will affect both my reading time and my channel editing time. I've been able to balance them out very well with my regular schedule work from home routine, but I will be returning to office in April. So this is probably going to be the last month I can read as much as I possibly can being stationary. So I guess without further ado, I'm gonna get stuck into the books that I want to read and share them with you, gush about them with you. Let's see where this video takes us. So I did mention in my February TBR video that I did want to reread the Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and I did reread the first book in February, which was a very good start. The first book is probably one of the most bingeable books that I've read. I've binge read that book 3 times so far. But these books, I'd have to say the sequels take a bit more binge power, so it takes a little bit longer for me to like fully get invested into them. I mean, The Crown of Gilded Bones more because of all the information, but A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire mostly because it's slower and it's a lot more character driven than it is plot driven. I'm not gonna lie, I am dreading this reread. It's probably the reason why I haven't read for almost a week now as I'm filming this. Pretty much stopped reading because I really want to get back into the series and to dive into the series, but the first 2 times that I read this book, I just didn't love it as much as I loved the first one. It took me 2 times to make that decision, so maybe the 3rd time I might just go along with it and try to pick out things that I do like about this one book in particular. I do love The Crown of Gilded Bones. This is personally my favorite book in the series, even though I've actually read it once. I'm so looking forward to rereading it in the lead up to The War of Two Queens, which is a never anticipated release that I do have on this TBR. I am so excited. So essentially this month I'm going to aim to read 3 of the books in this series. Very much looking forward to this series, but I'm very nervous. I'm hoping that The War of Two Queens doesn't end on just as bad of a cliffhanger as the rest of the books, but it probably will. So I've got to expect that. I will probably be put into a book hangover. It's not going to be fun. Next, I want to continue on with the Way of the House Husband series. This is volume 7, which I didn't actually know I would be able to find in a bookstore this month, but I ended up finding it at Kinokuniya, and I'm so happy because I binge read all the volumes to this one prior in the first 2 months of this year, and now I'm at the stage where I'm waiting for the series to come out volume by volume. There's no more binge reading this series, unfortunately, but I am just so excited to continue on because I really love this manga series, and I'm just really blessed that I found volume 7 in the bookstore, and I just cannot wait to experience the happiness, the wholesomeness, and the humorous moments within the Way of the House Husband series. And speaking of manga, I also want to continue on with the Beastars series, and this is volume 16. This, I believe, is the 5th or 4th last volume in the series. I can't believe it's going to end so soon. I hear that the ending is not necessarily everyone's favorite, and it's mostly because it is kind of rushed. And there are a few things that the readers just wish that the author addressed. They kind of wish that there was an extra volume. And yeah, I feel like I'm gonna feel that way by the end of the series. However, I'm here for the ride. I'm really enjoying the ride, and personally, I'm not minding the journey so far. So I'm very much looking forward to volume 16 and letting you guys know my thoughts. And the last manga that I definitely want to get to this month is, you guessed it, One Punch Man. Yeah, that's right. I can't help but do that like almost every time. I do want to continue on with One Punch Man, considering that this is the most outstanding series on my TBR. Like, I've got over 10 volumes on my to be read pile, so it has to be read. Even if it's just 1 volume this month, that's fine. It will be on my priority list until I get through the series. But what I do know is that I'm really enjoying it so far, and I don't mind adding a few volumes to my TBR here and there. I'm just really happy, not just because I have some really cool manga reading material, but because One Punch Man is funny. It's a really good mood setter. I couldn't be more happy with this series. So I recently posted a This TBR Will Self-Destruct video, which is a video I've wanted to do on my channel for a while. I just never knew when the right time was to do it. This book I put on that TBR and I really do want to read it. Out of the books that I talk about, probably the book that I want to read the most and just want to get out of the way because I've been curious for all the years that I've had it on my TBR. It's just I've never brought myself to read it because I've never prioritized it. And so I think out of the books that I mentioned on that TBR video, I do want to prioritize this one in particular. And that, my friends, is Dreamology by Lucy Keating. I don't really know much about this book except that it's kind of like a contemporary magical realism. The cover is absolutely pretty. I did essentially buy it because I really do love the cover. It definitely intrigued me from the get-go. However, that can't be the only reason why I have it on my TBR. It just seems like it is. And I just want to read it and discover what it is actually really about, because all I really know is its genre and the fact that it probably has to do with dreams based on the title, but I don't know much about it other than that. So I'm looking forward to reading it, letting you guys know how I go with it, and hopefully it can become one of my favorites. I'm kind of hoping that it will be one of my favorites eventually as I read it, obviously. I don't know much about it. I'm just hoping that it kind of surprises me in some sort of way. The next book that I want to put on my TBR is a novella. I think to myself, maybe I should just get some little quick reads out of the way before everything gets busy in my life again. Hopefully I do enjoy this novella as much as everybody else does. And this novella is the first in a new series by Alex E. Harrow, and that is a Spindle Splinter. I believe that this series is going to be full of fractured fairy tales. It's actually called the Fractured Fables series. This one, I believe, is a Sleeping Beauty retelling. Apparently, this book doesn't actually have specific romance. I believe that the main character doesn't even have a love interest. I don't know if that's going to be a continued trend throughout the series, but what I do know is that that actually kind of intrigues me because it's definitely a fractured fable. I just don't know if that is a big plot point in the story or if it's just like suddenly addressed, oh yeah, by the way, the Sleeping Beauty just doesn't really have a proper romance or something like that. I just saw it based on a question answered on Goodreads. Very curious actually as to how this one is going to go, especially because a lot of my friends love Alex E. Harrow's books. I've never read anything from them, so I'm very much curious to try their books out, and I think what better way to do that than start off with a novella and maybe work my way from there. And these next three books that I'm going to mention are completely optional for this month, and the reason why I bring them up is because I will be mentioning an anticipated release from this author later after I mention these three books, but I do want to read these three books eventually, and so I figured I might try to put this as a hopeful on my to be read pile for the month of March. And then, my friends, is the Hot and Hammered Companion Trilogy by Tessa Bailey. The first book being Fix Her Up, the second book being Tools of Engagement, and the final book being Love Her or Lose Her. I received these books as my Valentine's Day gift from my husband. I mean, all I really had to do was ask him for gift money, and I bought these. I've wanted to read the series for quite some time. Ever since Fix Her Up came out, a lot of people were talking about it, and I wasn't really reading romance at the time, but I was very curious about this one. And then when the rest of the books came out, I just kind of heard everybody raving about them, and so I did want to check them out, but I didn't read Tessa Bailey until I read It Happened One Summer this summer here in the Southern Hemisphere, and I absolutely loved it. And so that's when I knew that I had to jump on the Tessa Bailey hype train. So I do want to read these books eventually. Maybe I might just even start the series. I don't know. What I do know is that I love Tessa Bailey's writing. They have a way of making you fall in love. I'm just hoping that with this series, I feel kind of similar feelings to It Happened One Summer. I do hear from a lot of people that It Happened One Summer is one of their best. However, I'm just hoping that that doesn't cloud my judgment as I'm reading this series, because I want to love the series just as much as I loved It Happened One Summer. So if I have the craving to read more cutesy romance this month, then I definitely want to get to the Hot and Hammered series by Tessa Bailey. And speaking of Tessa Bailey, the second last book that I have to bring up on my TBR is an anticipated release for this month, and that, my friends, is Hook, Line, and Sinker. This is the companion sequel to It Happened One Summer. The series title is called The Bellinger Sisters, so essentially we're following a different sister in this series and their romance. We followed the original, I believe, Piper, and I believe Hannah Bellinger is the second. I'm just trying to remember their names as I'm talking right now. now, but I am so looking forward to Hook, Line, and Sinker because I was pretty curious as to what Hannah's story was. I really wanted to get to know her a bit more, and I feel like as much as I did love Piper, I felt like I could resonate with Hannah based on the information we were given about her. Oh my god, guys, I'm so excited to experience the butterflies that I experienced when I was reading It Happened One Summer. I've pre-ordered this one. I can't wait to receive my physical copy, but I'm also probably going to pre-order the audiobook because it just cannot come fast enough. Last time I pre-ordered a physical book, I had to cancel the pre-order and just go to the bookstore to get it. And yes, guys, I'm referring to House of Sky and Breath. Look, I thought that Booktopia was bad last year, and then I pre-ordered this book from Amazon thinking that they would be faster. No, I went to go to get it from Kinokuniya instead. Amazon failed me. I'm never trusting them with pre-orders again. The final book that I am anticipating for the month of March is the traditionally published version of the Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. I am so looking forward to this. I believe that the physical copy I will be receiving in this month's Fairy Loot because I've just subscribed to the adult box. This is just my guess, not only just based on the theme that they gave, but also the graphic. Like the graphic, it kind of resembles the Atlas 6 new cover. So that is why I'm guessing that the Fairy Loot book pick for March in the adult book only box will be the Atlas 6, and I'm so excited because I've subscribed to that. I've been hearing great things about this book from the people who have read the original version and also the people who've read the advanced reader's copy of the new version. A lot of people do like the details that were added. There weren't necessarily too many details added from what I know, just a few things kind of more fleshed out and refreshed, and I'm very much looking forward to reading this book at the best state that it possibly can be. And also I'm very much looking forward to being a part of the fandom finally. I feel like I really just officially need to be initiated. It just needs to happen. So I plan to read this in March. I also put it on my 5-star predictions TBR. I'm really hoping that it was one that I predicted right because I'd be so disappointed if it wasn't. So I guess that's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to stay till the end of the video, leave me the black heart emoji. The reason why I chose the black heart is because I feel like it matches the Atlas 6 cover, so black hearts, everyone. If you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social medias. I'm at gswizzlebooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also at Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. I'm at gswizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace. Started out with half and I flipped it in a double. Started out with half and I flipped it in a double.